I don't like the Owlcat Pathfinder games. I like the D&D games better, specifically Solasta and Baldur's Gate 3. And this will be shocking to people who follow my channel who know me as the Pathfinder guy who prefers it over D&D. Now, don't get me wrong, the people at Owlcat Games are very passionate, and they've created 2 games, Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, that have a lot of great story and are opulent and generous in the amount of content they have in them, and they're based on 2 great adventure paths written by Paizo. But I don't like the encounter design in these games. There's great story and a lot of content in these games, but the actual game part of computer role-playing game, I don't enjoy as much as I do in Solasta and Baldur's Gate 3. First, to introduce myself, I am Ronald, the Rules Lawyer. I'm a lawyer who runs tabletop role-playing games. My preferred system is Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and I have run Pathfinder 1st Edition and D&D 5th Edition as well. If you haven't yet, support my Patreon. I don't make money as a lawyer. For more info, look at that video. Supporting my Patreon gives you ad-free early access to most of my videos and exclusive content. For 9 years, I GM'd Pathfinder 1st Edition, and it was my preferred system that entire time. I love it for its unrivaled character customization, being based on D&D 3rd Edition. You could make anything. I liked the mechanics, I liked the quirkiness, I liked the unique monsters and their abilities, and I liked the effort that Paizo in general put into the game, and especially its adventures. However, 9 years of GMing it brought fatigue. It is quite a hard game to balance for. Higher level stat blocks get quite complicated, and there can be a huge variety in power within the party itself. A player who optimizes their character can completely outshine and make redundant a character who chooses things for flavor. That's why when Pathfinder 2e came out in 2019, that has since become my preferred system because it preserves that same customization while mechanically balancing the choices so that you have actual freedom to choose from a wide variety of options without having to worry that you're gimping yourself by choosing the option that expresses your concept. So that's important context for where I'm coming from describing my experience playing Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, which are based on Pathfinder 1st Edition. Kingmaker, I tried to complete 3 times to date. Each time I got bogged down around level 7, 8, or 9. I stopped enjoying it for reasons that I'll soon explain. And Wrath of the Righteous, I played about 10 hours, and I saw that gameplay-wise it was similar to Kingmaker, and so I haven't put more time into it. I have many other games competing for my attention. I also set the difficulty of these games to challenging mode. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is not my settings. I just grabbed this image off the internet. But I chose challenging mode because that did not make changes to the base rules of the tabletop game. I also tuned down the difficulty of the monsters in challenging mode because they were buffed, had artificial stat inflation compared to what they normally should be. So as you can see, I was trying to play Pathfinder 1st Edition in the game, unaltered. Meanwhile, because of the sheer disparity in power between powerful characters and weak characters that I described earlier, Owlcat, when they designed the encounters in these games, assumed the very capable power gamer. And they also created a lot of variance in power of different opponents you encounter. It's like more of a sandbox. You can encounter some weak encounters 3 times in a row, and then suddenly you slam your face into the wall of this dragon in a otherwise low-level area. There's a notorious encounter in Kingmaker where you see an abandoned campsite and it invites you to sleep there. And when you do, you get ambushed by a creature with these statistics. And this is when you are perhaps level 2 or level 3 in the game. And they're nearly impossible to defeat. Now, for players who enjoy a challenge, and I would say I'm a person like that, this looks great. This is, if you die, first of all, you can reload your game and decide not to trigger this encounter and come back to it later. Or you can attempt it again with a lot of spell buffs that you start before the battle. Cast the haste spell, drink potions of bark skin, cast blur, or invisibility, or displacement. Or in the case of one notorious area, give yourself resistance or immunity to electricity. But you first have to die before you can come to this realization. The game is quite difficult, and sometimes you find also that you did not optimize your character builds, that you need to completely respec some feats you chose or class levels that you took because you made some suboptimal choices the first time around. This is great for people who like the challenge of building characters to beat something difficult. However, many people look up builds online. Here is a build that you can find of one of the NPCs you meet in Kingmaker and can recruit to your party. You can find builds online on what class levels and what feats to choose when that NPC gains levels. And of course, there are guides online on where to get an OP magic item that's going to help your party against a certain boss or a certain area. And I'll just say, this is not the kind of gameplay I enjoy. I like to be more relaxed with the choices I make building my characters. I want to have a concept like maybe fighting with 2 weapons and just pick things that suit that idea I have without worrying that I am suboptimal. And because of how Pathfinder 1st Edition is designed, there is a real danger that if you approach your characters the way I do, that you will be suboptimal. I also don't want to have to, and this is what happened around level 7 or 8 or so when I usually quit my attempts to finish Kingmaker, I don't want to have to do a list of essential spell buffs before pretty much every battle, or at least the key ones. Owlcat has designed many encounters assuming you're going to be doing this. When you've added plus 20 to your attacks, then you can hit that AC 41 creature. In fact, there are mods for both of these games designed to allow you to automatically pre-buff your party in a much less tedious manner, and here's a screenshot of one of them. Also, I like to have a challenge, but not this kind of challenge. I think there's not much to boast about when you can get a winning build online. And that's another thing. I think that in Pathfinder 1st Edition, the majority of your success comes from making the right choices at character creation. And here also getting the requisite set of buffs, usually the same buffs each time before a given combat. And I think that's not much to boast about. And it's just tedious, to me at least. Now, there are 2 counter arguments to what I am saying. One of them is to just get good. And I'm just going to point out, I guess, that I'm not a bad gamer in terms of strategy and tactics. I'm just going to show on the screen that I have beaten the highest difficulty of XCOM 2, and it's not shown here. There isn't an achievement for this, but I beat that difficulty on Iron Man mode, where you cannot save scum. And I have achieved all of the Steam achievements for Slay the Spire, so it's not like I'm a stranger to hard games. The Owlcat games just don't present the kind of challenge I enjoy and the solutions that they encourage. I don't like dying at an encounter and then reloading and having to apply the same 10 or 15 buffs that I've applied in numerous fights before in order to make the fight even possible. That kind of breaks my immersion, which is kind of one of the things I want in a role-playing game. In contrast, in XCOM 2, you can make bad decisions and have setbacks, but they don't end your game. You can still try to do things at the strategic, global level to climb out of the hole, to do a set of missions where you perform them perfectly in order to climb out of a hole. And I like not winning at character creation. I like my moment-to-moment decisions in a tactical fight to matter, so that my decisions throughout the entire playtime are what determines whether I win or lose, not just the decisions I made at the beginning or the builds that I got from online optimization forums. The other counter argument is, why not just turn down the difficulty? Certainly there is no shame in lowering the difficulty in a game if the core difficulty is not for me. No one should feel ashamed to do that. However, in this game, it requires changing the base rules from Pathfinder 1st Edition, and such as removing critical hits, or making death not matter and never worry about death, or artificially deflating the stats of monsters. And the thing is, the monsters, at least the encounter design, was artificially inflated by Owlcat's designers. So you're kind of trying to correct a problem that the Owlcat designers insert it. And the bottom line for me is that when I want to play a Pathfinder First Edition game, I want to play Pathfinder First Edition. By lowering the difficulty, I'm essentially playing a modded version of Pathfinder First Edition to counter the encounter design decisions that Owlcat made in the encounters. If I ever get around to playing these games, I'm probably going to do it on easy mode or even story mode. But I don't think I'll do that. I mean, I have a very limited amount of time, and Baldur's Gate 3, which I still haven't finished, doesn't have these issues. And by all accounts, it has an excellent story and a lot of reactivity in its story. And there are Pathfinder 2e games that I plan to play. People who haven't tried the free game Quest for the Golden Candelabra should definitely try it out. The creator made a paid game, which is not expensive at all, called Dawnsbury Days, that goes up to level 4, and will eventually go up to level 8 with some DLC. It has a lot of positive reviews and an intuitive interface, inspired by Solasta's interface. Also, Ossian Studios has just put out a trailer for a upcoming CRPG for Pathfinder 2e called The Dragon's Demand. And these games are turn-based, and Dawnsbury Days definitely adheres faithfully to the Pathfinder 2e rules set, and Dragon's Demand, from all we've heard, probably will too. The Kickstarter for the Dragon's Demand will come out by the end of the month, apparently, and I'll have a link to both of these games in the video description. But yeah, I'm going to share a Reddit post on the Pathfinder 2e subreddit, which prompted me to make this video. It's a post sharing a comment to the YouTube trailer for Dragon's Demand. This commenter is somebody who does not like Pathfinder 2e clearly and believes that casters are weak, saying, "Oh boy, I can't wait for my spells to be meaningless in 3D and for my favorite caster class to be deliberately designed to miss more than half the time." That's a whole topic in and of itself. Pathfinder has 4 degrees of success, and caster spells, many of them, if they don't succeed, still have a partial effect, most of them, against a foe. Well, the comment section of this post inevitably talked about Owlcat's Pathfinder games. And there was a lot of comments from people who were unhappy with how they designed encounters. And I thought I might have been a minority view who had this opinion, but apparently a lot of other people feel the way I do. And so I wanted to make this video. I felt like I could. And in the comments to that Dragon's Demand trailer, someone wrote, "This had better not shy away from giving overpowered options." This, to me, clearly came from somebody who preferred Pathfinder First Edition and probably got interested in the video because of their interest. They like the Owlcat Pathfinder games. I expect there's going to be a lot of people who like the Owlcat games who will be checking out the Dragon's Demand, who will feel stifled in Pathfinder 2e and have a different idea of fun than I do. I've been very diplomatic in this video, but I couldn't help but give this person a snarky comment, which you can see on the screen if you'd like. No, I don't think building overpowered characters is interesting gameplay. I don't think it's a kind of challenge that's very impressive. It's so easy to get OP builds online. Having overpowered options destabilizes the game and means you cannot have a way to play it that is faithful to the tabletop rule set and provide any meaningful challenge. We don't want a situation like with the Owlcat games where the game is built for power builders and tuned for them, distorting the experience for everybody else. I want to play Pathfinder, whether that's Pathfinder 1e or Pathfinder 2e, without having to mod the game presents me. And I want to not win at character creation. I want my success or failure to depend on the decisions I make in the middle of combat. Sure, there are people who genuinely find fun in building characters. It's just not my kind of fun. However, there are also people who just have an overinflated sense of their own prowess because they can create characters that destroy game balance. And in a game that adapts Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I would be happy if it does not cater to these potential players. So that's it for now. For people interested in a breakdown of why I prefer Pathfinder 2nd Edition over 1st Edition, I did a video whose thumbnail I'll put up on the screen and link to in the description about how Pathfinder 2e addresses issues in 1st Edition and also D&D. If you like this video, support my channel by liking and subscribing. Also support my Patreon and join my Discord community. I hang out there a lot. We talk about Pathfinder 2e and other gaming. So that's it. I have been Ronald the Rules Lawyer. See you next time.